When you're developing a building project, keeping your options open is an important strategy to keep in mind because things change, people disappear, options that feel like they're almost a certainty or that they're going to happen. Sometimes they just ghost you, or sometimes it just doesn't work out the way you think. This can be for any number of reasons, and this is why it's not even a bad thing necessarily when options go away, but you just never know why. It could even be from your point of view. You could have something change on your end. Like, for instance, you might find out that you had half the investment that you thought you had to do the project, and therefore, maybe you need a different option for a building. Or you might be dealing with a landlord and they seem like they're going to be someone who has a lease for you, but the lease just never shows up for some reason. And it could be a number of reasons. It could be that the landlord or the realtors just aren't really doing a great job. It could be that you're one of multiple fish on the hook that they're trying to bring in. Maybe you're even plan B or plan C, and so they're sort of waiting to see if something else might come through that they would prefer. And in order to feel better in that situation, especially since you have no control over it, is to control the things that we can control, or try to at least have options that give us a feeling like we're not just having all of our eggs in one basket. Because every time I'm working with clients who have one option, there's so much pressure that gets put onto that option, whether it's for a lease or for an investor or whoever it might be, that if it goes away, it can be very heartbreaking. It can really feel like the chances of success for the project might be gone. And it's unfortunate because often that has nothing to do with you. So, for instance, if you're relying on one lease to come through and it doesn't, are you willing to start back at zero looking for places again? Or do you already have some in the pipeline that you can sort of bring to the front or put a little bit more emphasis on? So, having multiple options throughout the process of developing your building project is a good way to give you a feeling of a little more control over the process. Because if someone starts being flaky, if someone gets a better option that they seem to be more, interested in, you've got other options sort of already at least started, at least sort of things you've already been considering. And every single time I'm working with a client where something goes away, where they feel like, man, I just don't know what to do next, as soon as we introduce other options, looking for other properties or whatever the case is, it can really help. So, one thing to keep in mind is that I'm not talking about sort of endless options all the way through the process. What I'm talking about is sort of allowing things to sort of naturally funnel down, because at the very beginning, it's very easy. You've got different ideas and you've got a whole bunch of stuff, and it's sort of like popcorn. It's like bang bang bang. And as you go down, what often happens is that maybe one option sort of shoots its way forward. But in reality, you still should sort of be catering or considering not necessarily every single option back here, but maybe there's one or two that might be a good, plan two or plan three if option one doesn't work out. Because a lot of times option one does not work out. And then what you want to be able to do is sort of green light one to sort of step forward rather than have to go all the way back here and like vet all of these again and try to figure out like what's even going on back here. And so whether or not this is with a building, a landlord, or even architects and contractors, really the entire process, if something happens along the track here, sort of going from, because this is like years usually, if something happens along the way, where the economy changes, things happening around the world, whatever the case might be, it might be out of your control. It might be out of your partner's control, your landlord's control, your investor's control. You might have an investor who said, I'm going to give you all this money, but then something in a completely unrelated industry or unrelated part of the world even changes significantly. And they're just in a position where even if you have a signed commitment, if the money isn't there, if the money hasn't changed hands, I wouldn't look at it as an actual commitment. And so we need to get to a point where once we have actual money exchanging hands, then we can pick, okay, this is the one this one moves forward. Whether it's again with your contractor or your landlord, whether it's with investors, whatever it is, the whole point is you probably are going to feel better about the whole process by keeping options open and letting them boil their way down as you go through the process. This is a small piece of strategy, but it's critical because it really is hard once you start going with a project, once you get to a certain point, to be able to reposition, to be able to go back to something that you dealt with months ago, whether it's finding a space or landlords or investors or whatever, can be very difficult, can be very demoralizing. You might have a partner who doesn't want you to do that. You might have a partner, whether it's your personal partner or a business partner, who just says, look, we can't waste this much time. And that's a big part of this, is not wasting time, getting us with your doors open as soon as possible so that you can reverse the money going out to money coming back in. And so if you'd like help with any of this in your projects, I've got links below. This is what I do with clients, is walk them through developing building projects to make world-class facilities on time and on budget. So there's links in the bio if you're interested in that. But otherwise, hopefully this is helpful for you. And please like and subscribe if it is. Thanks, and I'll see you in the next video.